Today I have this special build to share with you, and it is loosely inspired by 100 Acre Wood from Winnie the Pooh series. Last week in the Disney Dreamlight Valley premium shop, we got some Winnie the Pooh items, and I thought it was a good opportunity to try making this large build. And I used a forest floating island, so I wouldn't have to worry about resources spawning and have all this extra space. The 100 Acre Wood is actually a fictional place inspired by a real-life 500-acre wood near the home of Alan Milne, the author of Winnie the Pooh stories. This build is very loosely based on the Winnie the Pooh Disney series because we don't really have many items in the game referencing this franchise. We got this tree house from the premium shop, which is Winnie the Pooh's house, and there is a sign over the door that says Mr. Sanders. I couldn't remember what it meant, so I rewatched the 1977 movie, The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, and it says that Winnie the Pooh lived in an enchanted forest under the name of Sanders, which means he had the sign over his door with the Mr. Sanders name on it. The movie is actually full of silly little jokes and puns like this one. I love it so much. The concept of this build was to place a few houses on the island a bit far apart and have winding paths connecting them and surround everything with trees and underbrush. The greatest thing of the Storybook Vale expansion is that we got lots of this fall theme foliage and tree clusters, which look great for the forest build. So I used a lot of those and mixed them with some green leaf trees from the base game to achieve this mixed forest look of the early fall when the leaves starting to change colors, but there is still some green foliage left. The center of the build and main focal point is Winnie the Pooh's house, and other houses I chose based on mostly the color scheme and look that would fit in the forest theme. These are all premium house skins: the Halloween cottage house, wilted flower cottage, leafy cottage house, and the recent one, golden beehive house. I always start outdoor builds by laying out the paths first to figure out the general directions of walking around and lines of sight. This also helps to separate areas for the foliage and place trees and large clusters with large footprints. Because there is no ability to overlap items in the game right now, and if you start with smaller items, there will be hard to find enough space to fit the large trees and foliage clusters, and they usually make the biggest difference in creating this full look of the forest. Right next to the beehive house, I mapped out the little honey farm right away. We got these little cute beehives in premium shop, and I really wanted to use them here. They have bees flying animation accompanied by buzzing sounds, which could be a bit annoying to be honest. I also wanted to add a little farming area next to each house and plant some crops that would look good in this build. For the decorations and set dressing, I used a lot of rustic looking items, anything wooden or with pumpkins, a lot of crafting items like boxes and barrels. The storybook items are also looking great here, like these floral book arches. I'm still waiting for some of the new items to appear in Scrooge's store. This build is a bit of a long one. I tried to capture most of the process here. I will not be talking all the way. So enjoy the speed build, and I'll see you later for the final walkthrough. And let me know if you like to see most of the build process like this one, or you prefer to see the end result. The build is done, and here is my 100 Acre Wood Dreamlight Valley style. This took only a bit of back and forth with crafting and buying more items from Scrooge's, just because I was prepared and stocked up on everything beforehand. And I got my pot of gold from the lucky event that's going on this week, and I placed it next to Winnie the Pooh's house. It is really pretty and brightens up the area. I really like how the pathing turned out. I always like to layer rocks on top of paths, and on floating islands I can place however many I want, so that's great. For the Halloween cottage, I went with the carrot farm idea, and there is a little carrot loving troublemaker living here. Just follow the carrot paths and you'll get all the carrots you want. I did notice some bugs with floating islands. Sometimes when deleting some items and selecting the undo button, it doesn't work properly. For example, I pressed the reset island button by accident and held it a bit too long, so it reset the island and I freaked out. But thankfully there is an undo button, but it didn't bring all the items back. I think the reset island button should definitely have the prompt before deleting everything, because on PC you only hit escape to exit build mode and you can't go back to the undo button anymore. I also had the bug when my decoration didn't save, and I think it got something to do with the autosave. It was increased to about 8 minutes recently, and I noticed that if I enter the build mode before autosave kicks in, I will most likely lose the progress. So I try to always save before decorating, and also don't stay in a build mode for too long to not lose too much. But still, this issue needs to be addressed. We need to have the save button in the build mode, because it could be very frustrating to redo areas over and over again. I would also love the option to turn off the animation for the crops. I just want them to look like a part of the landscape at this point. All the foliage looks great though. I'm glad I picked the forest island for this build. The green grass gives enough contrast to all the plants from Storybook Vale, and those piles of leaves are my favorite. I need more variations of them, and also some fallen leaves for the pathing. I used some of the fallen petals, but they are wrong color scheme for this build. I also was very happy how the honey farm turned out. I planted some oats here just because it matches all the fall colors. And I even added the little Pooh popcorn bucket next to the porch. The only other Winnie the Pooh items we had in the game. It was part of the event, which I hope will come back so I can craft more of these. I added the log and fire pit next to the Pooh's house to reference his thoughtful spot from the movie. And behind the treehouse is a little reading nook, and a bit further is a dining table for all the friends to gather for the party. It is conveniently near the fresh produce farm and the market, and I think the wilted cottage could have been a rabbit's house. I also love using this new stone pathing from the current star path. They have a thinner profile and look so bright on this leaf strong path. I mixed them with my favorite rock clusters. Next, I will show you the nighttime lighting, which looks completely different. Everything looks much more darker and contrasty, especially pathing. Everything looks darker except these lanterns, which look like blinding projectors. I definitely think they need to be turned down. The area around them are totally overexposed. My favorite part of the nighttime is when these mushrooms from Storybook Vale start to glow. I wish I could turn them on during the daytime too. They're so pretty. I also added some floating lanterns and fireflies because I had them everywhere at this point. They're my favorite items. And this was the first time for me using the volleyball net from Storybook Vale crafting. I think it fits perfectly here. I also added honey pots everywhere to stay on theme as much as possible. I would be so excited if we actually get a Winnie the Pooh expansion one day and many more themed items along it. I hope you enjoyed this speed build. I had lots of fun creating this. If you like this video, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next one. Bye everyone!